Hello everybody. Alright, now we are getting down to the core game loop. So, the game consists of multiple rounds, which themselves have 3 phases. The loop is basically just running through those 3 phases, starting right back over until somebody meets the goal of 10 or 14 victory points. So the very first phase is called the strategy phase, and this is the great part of Twilight Imperium, and like one of the things that really sets it apart is they have the game system of the strategy cards. Now, these strategy cards, not only do they determine the action the player can take, but they basically determine the turn order. So the turn order changes every game round, which is amazing because a lot of times you have a great game like the Resistance, but that can be ruined by table sensitivity. So I really like that Christian did this, and I believe it was new for the 3rd edition. There's so many because this is also one of the things that people consider to be most broken about the base game. There were these initial 8. So we've got initiative, diplomacy, political, logistics, trade, warfare, technology, and imperial. And while they're great abilities, and people just felt like they were very unbalanced. So with the first expansion, they came out with a similar set, but slightly improved, which I'll go over each of these individually. But they're very similar. And we'll probably be playing with the second set. So I'm going to go ahead and just move these, and we'll dive into it. So this is a representation of the races that are participating. We've got 8 players here, and I didn't feel like it was just distracting to have an entire galaxy built up. At random, or however the group wants to do it, there is a speaker that is decided, and the strategy card, I believe its assembly, changes who the speaker is, and so that will float around based on when it's played. So the way it starts is the speaker will pick one of the strategy cards that he wants. So I'm not even going to try to actually do any strategizing, but this is where the races, depending on what they need, would select a card. So we're going to do... we'll just give him 4. We'll give 3. I'll give him 6, 7, 8, 5, 2, 1. So what happens now is in the second phase of the game, the turn order would go, the humans would go first, the Nalu would go second, the Hylar would go third, the Gashly 4th, and so on, down to 8. Now, the second phase, that's basically it. There's not much to the first phase, and in this, but it has an effect on the second phase. The second phase basically continues until everybody has played their strategy card as an action. You cannot pass, which basically ends your activity in that round. You cannot pass until you have played your card. So if there's one person holding out and they haven't played their strategy card, the game's still on. So, with that being said, the other component of these cards is that they have a primary and secondary ability. If you remember my last video, I was talking about the strategy allocation, and that's for basically when somebody, so let's say the humans play leadership. So the primary ability of leadership is receive 3 command counters from your reinforcements. You may then immediately use this card's secondary ability. So the secondary ability is you can spend influence to purchase up to 3 command counters from your reinforcements. You receive 1 command counter for every 2 influence you spend. So what that means is the humans have a chance to get up to 6 additional resources by using this card. So once they've done that, they turn it over, and there's the inactive side, so its global status is known. And then, in clockwise fashion, not in strategy or card order fashion, you go around and you let people get a chance to execute on the secondary ability. So the humans can get 6, but if somebody else wants to spend influence, they can get up to 3 resources from their reinforcements. And each of these cards has its own ability, and I'll go through that now. One thing, if you're playing with fewer than 8, I believe there's a couple exceptions to the rule, but basically if you find yourself in like a 7-man game or a 5 or something, there's these bonus tokens that if something doesn't get chosen, there's an incentive on the card each time it's not chosen to pick it, which those basically, I believe they correlate to additional resources, but I haven't played with them yet, so that's just something else. So with that, I'll go ahead and I'll just go through the individual cards so everybody kind of gets an idea of what they're good for. And this is really important because playing the long game basically involves these and the evolution of your race over time as a result of the outcome of these cards. So it's very crucial that this is something that you know going into the game. You don't have to know the fine details of it, but just generally what it helps boost you in. So don't take time memorizing the text. Just know that it like pick one thing out about the card and expand from there. So this is if I can get the camera to focus, or maybe not. This is Diplomacy 2, and basically you get 2 choices. There is choose one system. Basically, you get to choose a system that nobody can attack for that round. And then, or you can choose to execute the secondary ability of this card without paying from your strategy allocation. So the secondary ability is spend 1 command counter from your strategy allocation and 3 influence to claim an empty planet adjacent to your own system that you control. So this is like peaceful annexation. So basically you can protect a system or you can annex a system peacefully. So there's 1 and 2. 3. 3 is the assembly, and this has to deal a lot with politics. Basically, there are two choices on this as well. You can claim the speaker token and choose one other player to play a political card and resolve its agenda. There's also the other option is to choose one other player to claim the speaker token, play a political card from your hand, and resolve its agenda. And the political cards there's a huge deck, and they're all different, and they can be global modifiers, they can be turn modifiers, they're all over the board. The secondary ability is Morale Boost. Spend 1 command counter from your strategy allocation area to refresh any number of your planet cards with total combined resource and influence of 6 or less. So this is a way to get back some of your key resources, because as you're playing around, you exhaust your planets until you've exhausted all of your resources and you can't build anymore, and that really limits your action and kind of forces you to pass. So this is good for staving that off. Production, pretty much what it says. Primary ability, immediately build units in one of your systems containing 1 or more friendly space docks, receiving 2 additional resources with which to build. So basically, if you already built there, you can build again, which that's really handy, because sometimes you're like, oh, I wish if I hadn't already activated the system, I wish I could build again. Secondary ability is double efforts. You spend a command counter to immediately build up to 3 units in one of your systems, and the same rules apply as the primary. We got 5. 5 is Trade 2. This was an improvement over Trade 1, but primary, there is no secondary on this. That's because the primary has a lot to deal with all of the players. But you receive 3 trade goods, and you can cancel 2 trade agreements between other players. And of course the Hassan, which are the trading race, are the one that you can't cancel agreements on. Everybody's got to have their spice. Then all players receive trade goods from their active trade agreements. Players who are not the active player receive 1 fewer total trade goods. So that's the exchange of resources that I was mentioning in the previous video. Finally, open trade trade negotiations amongst players, you must approve all new trade agreements. So you kind of you hold the final, say, the veto power on other races exchanging trade agreements. And basically, trade agreements are really easy. It's like, I give you a trade agreement, you give me yours, and then whenever this card gets executed, we benefit from our mutual agreement. And I'll talk more about that in a trade video. 6, warfare. This basically you place a system or a fleet on high alert, and you get a special token that will move around with your ships, and it gives you +1 in movement and +1 to all of your combat rolls. The secondary ability is you spend a command counter to move up to 2 of your ships from unactivated systems into adjacent systems you control. This is good because you often find yourself in situations where you just need that one extra turn to get your ships into position for an attack or for defense, and so this kind of allows you that opportunity. Technology 2, one of my favorite cards. Primary ability. Receive 1 technology advance. You may then buy a second technology advance at the cost of 8 resources. And you must have the necessary prerequisites. Yada yada. The secondary ability is you spend a command counter from your strategy area and 6 resources to receive 1 technology advance. So this is a lot better than the first technology one because it helps proliferate technologies more readily. And then the last one, bureaucracy. I prefer this over the Imperials just because I like the other Imperial cards, because there's actually the first Imperial was considered really broken, and then this one is kind of along the same veins, but basically it acts as the driver because people will claim that card to automatically get 2 victory points, and then it kind of moves around and bounces back and forth between the players, and everybody kind of slowly progresses towards the victory line. And I don't personally like it, but I know others do. I do like the bureaucracy card instead, which is receive 1 command counter from your reinforcements. Then draw the top 2 cards from the objective deck. Place 1 face up in the common play area and the other on the top of the deck. You may then immediately claim 1 public objective that you qualify for. So this is the ability to skip the basically shortcut the 3rd phase, which is where you do the resolution and earn your victory points, and you can win in the 2nd phase if you qualify for an objective. That gives you the final victory points that you need. So it lets you determine what objectives come out for people to play. So if there's one that you're closer to achieving, you actually get the upper hand. So this is still a really great card to have. The secondary ability, new agendas. Spend 1 command counter from your strategy area to draw 1 political card and 1 action card, which is great for just adding those disruptive elements to your hand. So anyways, that's the first round or first phase of a game round. Extended into the second a bit, but we get that out of the way because there's a lot to go over with the next one. Anyway, see you then.